let's be honest. Let's be brutally honest. No one wants to be fat.
He said the chemicals I'm pumping into my body from all this food is terrible for me. And I was like, and you're talking about chemicals in food. What about the chemicals you've been injecting? Tights, heels, dragging out. And then as you start to pull out into the daylight, you're like, fuck, these are big enough legs. And then you're like, fuck, this is a dude.
What about when you met Wim Hof? What was he like?
Mad.
I want to say a quick thank you to our sponsors, Gold Seal. I use their products every single day, and now I finally get to work with them. I use their products for anti-inflammatory, reduced anxiety, better sleep, and mental clarity. I'm going to put a link to their website in the description, along with a 10% discount code for you to take advantage of. Go and have a look at their website, see if there's anything in there for you. I hope you enjoy this week's episode, and good health.
Tony, thank you for coming on. People will know Tony, I'd imagine, as the Wolf. Not Wolf, the Wolf.
I always howl at my little tiny dog and be like, the big bad wolf is here. And I was saying to you last night, I was like, that came about because I hadn't seen my mum, my dad, my sister in like 4 or 5 months when I was in Mexico. And I howled at the end of a reel to remind them and have a laugh and goes, look at the end of the reel, show Lola, my dog, that. It's me, it's the big bad wolf howling. And at the end of the reel, I slap my chest and I go, the big bad wolf's here, howl. And it was just a private joke. And since that moment, I didn't even mean for it to catch on. It's just been the wolf, and every emoji underneath that reel went viral, and everybody just calls me it, and it just rolls with it. And I've just went, yeah.
And how long have you been howling for?
Online, only about not even a year, like 9 months online I've been doing it. But like I've been doing it like jokingly with my dog for like years. Like do you know what I mean? But I've never shown that online because it's one of them things where you're like, why would I ever put that online? It's just nothing that's of interest. It's me messing about. But the thing is, what I find more and more is, see, the more I am just me at home with the way I am naturally, like a goofball, a messer, making jokes that aren't even that funny, the more people actually are like, oh, I like that individual. And that's the thing about most people, whenever a camera gets flicked on them, they almost change in this like robotic and they're talking proper versus I am just what you see is what you get now. And I can't even pretend to be like a different manner. It's just, I'm just like, this is me. So you can either accept me, like me, hate me. I just find that works actual best.
And what is your overall message? What is the message that you're delivering to the masses?
For me, like, I think as you said, I'm trying to make fitness where there's not this barrier that it has to be a certain way. It has to be super serious. You have to, like, we all know the bodybuilders online that their personality is the fucking hack squat. And you're like, bro, I know you eat chicken and rice. I know what your Friday night looks like. I know you're a born, I just don't want your life. I just don't.
I know what your Friday night's like. That's bang on.
100%. Like, you're stressing about getting your meals in. And don't get me wrong, I take my fitness serious, but like, if there's no laugh in it, what is the point? Like, if you can't, like, I can crack out a set hard as fuck, go balls to the wall, and then I can joke with you 30 seconds later because that's who I am as an individual. I don't need to be, you don't have to be a bodybuilder to be born. People are sick of that. And the thing is, it can make you born. I noticed the more I lent into it, the more you dive down that rabbit hole, the more you feel like that's the person you become. So I think it's just being self-aware and realizing, oh, I am becoming a born fucking bastard. So maybe I need to add a little bit more fun in. And that's why, like, with me, the message is you don't have to always take it serious. We do want results. There's no point squeezing a lemon and getting no fucking juice. That's pointless. But do you have to compromise who you are as a unique individual and fit into this other person's life? So I always look at it like whenever I hire a coach or I'm looking at somebody that's doing fitness, I'm like, do I want their shape and do I want their lifestyle? It's not just do I want their shape, but do I want the way they go, and not just photos in Dubai on the beach. I mean, like, are they actually somebody that I'm like, oh, I like his values, his morals, he probably has a laugh, he's got a good mixture. First, you don't normally see that. All you see is people in really good shape, posy, and they're eating chicken and rice every day, or you don't see them have the life I want, or where they're like, I'm like, that person's fun. Like, I would love to get a drink out of a bit of crack with that person. It's like, no, Jesus Christ, no, don't put me in a room with them. But I would like to look like them.
A lot of fitness industry bods are self-obsessed.
Yeah.
How they look, for me, which is, there's a narcissistic streak in there, there's insecurities, there's a whole plethora of vulnerabilities and insecurities in a lot of these influencers that are literally like body perfect and they eat, sleep, shit, bodybuilding and training, and they come across like they are narcissistic. I think you completely remove that from the message you're giving out.
It's because that used to fuel me. Like, I think most people do get into fitness initially from, like, I got into fitness because I was insecure, didn't feel good enough, struggled with women, and then you start to build this layer of fake confidence from it, where you almost have to drink your own Kool-Aid of bullshit, like, I'm in shape now, this is who I am, and you start to try and layer that up. But I think for me, I've came full circle where I've been photo shoot ready. I've had everything that people think will give you confidence and solve all these insecurities, and then you realise, oh, you know what? All this muscle, all this extra money in the bank, it didn't really solve anything. I'm just now a bigger, maybe slightly better version of who I was, but I still have all these issues. So then, you sort of work through them and you slowly come full circle and you realise that, like, accepting that, like, you're not going to have abs every minute of the day, depending on what happened in the prior month or whatever, is like a nice balance, because I can always flick back into getting them, because I know the work ethic, I know the discipline's there. And it's who you become through that journey of getting in shape is more important anyway, because I know at any stage I can do a 40-day diet and be shredded to bits. I know it's there. It's not like it goes and it's gone. So I think that confidence you build in that is more key. Whereas I feel like most people are trying to plug an insecurity or void or get self-approval or validation through others to give them that confidence. Whereas you realize once you've had all that, like I've been through that it doesn't fill that void. You have to fill it internally first. And that's tricky. That's where you have to sit and you have to go, right, well, where am I bullshitting myself? Why do I not have confidence? And then it's figuring out how you actually build the confidence. I think that's where most people struggle, and that's where, like, I do the reps, not just in the gym, but outside of it. So, like, if I see a really good looking woman and I'm single and I'm like, I'll go over and have a conversation just because that's a rep. Because I'm like, you don't build confidence from talking in the mirror and being like, I am confident. I am the fucking man. You build it by doing things that you're uncomfortable with until they become boring, until they become a stage where it's normal. It's like, I'm not confident. I've done so many reps that it's just normal. That's the way I look at it. Like, if you aren't confident, it's like we didn't used to be good at public speaking. I just done so many speaking events that you naturally just become better. Same as the gym. Like, nobody's comfortable there the first day at all. But you go that many times, you're like, oh, this is just routine. Like, your first day in a job, nobody feels comfortable, and then you do so much, it becomes boring, and then you become confident in your role. I think people just think like confidence, and they think that is pulling women, that is talking in front of the cameras. It's not. That person's just done more reps than you.
It was James Smith, PT. He's brought a book out on, I can't remember what it's called. I think it's a play on words, but it's in a roundabout way. It's to do with confidence and building confidence, which I can only assume is the more reps you do in and out of the gym, reps being putting yourself in awkward positions until it's no longer awkward, is probably the sentiment of his book. But it just made me think of him. I mean, he's a prominent figure in your industry. What do you think of his approach to the industry?
The first thing I'll always say is, if you ever speak ill of somebody's approach, you're not in their situation. You're not in their shoes. So I don't know what his past experiences have been like. I don't know what way he's been treated or how he's been. Yes, he can talk about his story, but you also don't know what is marketing and what's him as well, because everybody, to an extent, will say they're being themselves online, but you don't know. You don't really know the person till that. His approach is more for, in my opinion, somebody that's been through the ringer with fitness, never got in shape, struggled, and is sick to death of yo-yo diet and just can't get results. And that is completely fine. But for me, with an individual like that, the first thing I always think of, as I said, is, do I want to be in their shape? And do they live a lifestyle I want? And does their message stand by me? And I don't relate to his at all, because it's not like me. I don't want to be in that shape. Yes, he wants that balance or whatever way he wants to talk about it, but I want abs. I want to be in shape. I want arms that fill my sleeves. I want to feel like confident in that way. So mine is completely different. And my message is more like, I think of me talking to a younger version of myself. See, if I had that advice when I was younger, that for me doesn't work with the personality type I am and who I am. I need somebody turning around and going, don't be stupid as fuck. Do this, and that works. Versus if you turn around and go, look, you're trying hard. Maybe it's just this, and like soft touch for me doesn't work. Like, it's like whenever I was in the fire service, I respond better to punishment. If I fucked up a knot, I was tying a knot, and I fuck it up, and you go, you fucked up the knot, go run a lap. I will learn that knot a lot faster than if you turn around to me and go, try again, try again, you can do better. That doesn't work for me. I need you to turn around and go, motherfucker, get down and give me 15 reps, and I'll be like, oh, for fuck's sake. But I learn quicker like that. I'm not saying you need to fucking beat, but I just respond better from being talked directly at. Like, if you say, you're doing this, that is so fucking stupid, do this. Initially, I'll be like a bit defensive, but then I learn quicker because I'm like, well, they're speaking with pure authority. You don't speak with pure authority and complete straight dial unless you're like, I'm trying to help. That's why I'm very much like, people love or hate me.
What about this nanny state that we currently live in, where most people would cry if you said, that's shit, do it that way if you want results, and do it now? That's basically how you're saying that you respond to direct instructions, brute honesty, tough love, whereas a lot of people out there now, they don't like being spoke to like that.
I think you're doing a complete disservice whenever it's like that, because when you break it down and you look at it, anytime I've got a soft touch, it's done me worse in the long run. It's hurt me more. Versus whenever I get harsh, straightforward truth, it hurts me more in the moment, but I know it's for the better in the long run. It's like, hard choices now always lead to an easy life. Easy choices always lead to a hard life. So it's always easy to go, do better next week, and don't worry about eating shit at the weekends, Just pick yourself up, dust yourself up, and move better. But if I'm still fat, overweight, unhappy, uncomfortable, my sex life sucks, and I can't even approach a woman, then realistically that's helped me in the instant, but it's not helped me in the long run. Whereas if you turn around to me and go, look, straightforward, you have to be nailing this, you have to be doing this, you have to be walking up and chatting to people and building your confidence, doing the reps, that is all uncomfortable as fuck, because you don't want to hear that. It's what you need to hear. It's not what you want to hear. But the thing is, I will always tell somebody what they need to hear, regardless of how they feel about it, because I fucking wish somebody done that for me sooner, because I never had that individual that would take the risk of being disliked by me to tell me what they like to hear, because they want to be liked. I don't need to be liked. I want to be the catalyst for change in your life, that you go, he told me what I needed to hear even when I didn't want to hear it, and that's made the difference in my life. Because the person who's made the biggest differences in my life have always told me what I need to hear, regardless if I want to hear it or not. It's when my sister pulls me and goes, this isn't right, that's not, and you go, you're almost like, you immediately turn into trigger defensive. You're almost trying to fight back, and then you realize after like half an hour, you're like, fuck, that person's right. And then you can start to gradually make that change. Now, I'm not saying every individual is like that. There'll be certain people James Smith's message speaks to, and it hits home with, and it helps, and it changes their life. But there's a completely different side of the coin that isn't going to work for. And they're going to want the drive, they're going to want the push, they're going to want the hard truths in my realm. And that's why not everybody has the same person to listen to. That's why there's so many people that do well in the fitness space, because it's all opinion based. There's no right or wrong, because the personality types dictate what works well. For example, one thing I say all the time is, I love to diet really fast, really aggressive, and get it done quick. And you'll see online, whoa, that's too much. That's way too fast. That's unsustainable. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. I don't want sustainable diet, and I want to be done in 4 weeks and go back to fucking normal. Because I'm not spending 6 months in a diet counting calories. Fuck that. Whenever I'm starved, just drill, get it done 30 days, and then let me go back to eating ice cream and have a life and enjoy them. That works really well for me. Whereas you give that to Sandra that's 40 and has 3 kids, probably going to be a bit more difficult. She might not even be used to dieting. Whereas for me, I have the tenacity, the willpower. That works better for me. With would you rather 30 days of hard dieting or 120 of slow, consistent? And you give that option to some people, and you're going to get a mix of results of people who want what, depending on the stress in their life, the kids, the job, what they want. Whereas I find it easy to blitz and then lean out and focus on other areas.
I let myself really slide during lockdown. Really slide. I was renting a property whilst my home that I live in now was being renovated. That took 2 years. I lived in a rented property that had no mirrors. That's not an excuse, because the house had no mirrors and I had no discipline. And then I had to look at myself and say, you disgraceful, weak, fat mess. Because it was over 2 years I let it slide. If somebody had said that to me 6 months in, I'd have gone, that's a bit strong. But I would have checked myself and thought, well, they've got a point. So are you saying that if people can broaden their shoulders and thicken their skin and listen to a message from somebody that knows the exact science, if they take it on the chin, don't be so defensive and soft, your results will rapidly speed up?
Yes, of course, in every area of your life. Every single area. Like, anytime you've had a downfall in any area, relationships, financial, if you had got harsh truth sooner, probably would have helped. The problem is, though, most men in particular don't respond well to advice until they burn themselves. It's like, here's a hot pan, don't touch the hot pan. You'll go, fuck, and then you don't touch it again. We usually learn through doing it ourselves and then going full circle. That's the downside. Some people are smarter than that. I'm not. I usually have to burn my hand. And I do think a hard, strong hand works well, especially with, like, there's a lot of people swaying the other way nowadays because it sells. Everybody wants an easy life and an easy result. Nobody wants to turn around and go, look, it's going to be tough, it's going to be difficult, but it's going to be worth it. Whenever other people are turning around saying this is the way it works. And I think, as you said, though, it's not up to me. If I'm your friend, you ask me an honest opinion, I'll give you it. But I think there's also this balance of, I don't want to walk up to people and be like, you're overweight, you should be doing that. It's unsolicited advice, and not everybody that's overweight is unhappy. It's not that case. So it's just one of the things where it depends what you value in your life, and it depends if it's affecting. If you're turning around to me and going, I can't figure out why I feel down, I'm struggling with women, I'm struggling with my headspace, my energy, my mood, my business, and I go, well, what's food like? What's training like? What can we do to make that better? And you go, well, I'm not really training, I'm not really getting any steps, I'm not going for walks, and you're like, right, well, let's sort these out first, and naturally you start getting better shape anyway. And then it's the truth as well, because if you're going, I'm not feeling confident, I'm like, well, you look at the outside in, and I think it's very easy to, I always use this quote, a couple of quotes, but you can't read the label of the bottle when you're inside the bottle. You can't see the cracks in your house when you're living in the house. You have to step outside, walk across the street and go, fuck, my house has a massive crack in it there. So it depends. Sometimes it's nice to get a view. I wouldn't always say advice, but I think, or comment over people, but I think if you can get a stop, take a reflection period and just go, what's going really well in my life? And go, fuck, that's great. What's going really fucking shit? And then actually sit in the end of your bed and ask yourself, Jordan Peterson always says this, sit in the end of your bed and just go, where am I fucking up? And you'll get an answer if you sit there long enough. It won't be the one you want, but you'll get the answer and you'll be like, fuck. That's the part I probably need to work on now. And that's the beauty about it, because there's always going to be something. We're never really in true balance. Like, there's going to be periods where you've got a new girlfriend, you're socializing, you're traveling, you've got a new kid, whatever it is. And fitness isn't your number one priority. Your shape isn't. You get different values and life swings. I'm not saying you have to be a bodybuilder, but it's just going, right, well, it's been long enough that's not been a priority. I need to rein that in before it goes too far. Versus if you don't get that breath, you don't take that moment to reflect, that goes very far in the one direction, and it's very hard to rein in. And then that's when people start throwing in justifications like, I have kids, I have a busy job, and we're all guilty of that. But as you said, it's turning around and going, all right, I need to take responsibility for this. Yes, I have these, but there's probably somebody else in a worse position that's still managing and to try and balance this better. Because whenever in balance, you're always off kilter. You're always off balance. We're perfectly unbalanced. The problem is people put this expectation that you have to have a balanced lifestyle. You don't. You just have to be happy if you're balanced in that moment. So like, if you're happy chasing the grind and the push and bodybuilding, that's all fine. But if you're not having a social life, you can't complain about not having that, because you chose that even subconsciously without realizing it. It's whenever people expect everything to just flow and you to be Zen mode. That's fine if you're not pushing in any area of your life. But if you have a brand new kid, you're gonna obviously struggle with social life because you're adapting to fatherhood or whatever it is. But it's expecting everything to be in flow is whenever we start to almost feel like things are off, and you put that pressure of like, my life isn't balanced no more. But ask yourself, am I happy? Do I feel good? Is my energy? Yeah, then don't worry about the one area that's off. Fix it later. Ask yourself, is it worth even fixing?
We're talking about like the firm, hard line and the no-nonsense approach being effective. Have you seen how Eddie Abbew has just taken over the internet?
Yeah, me and him's had debates online. Like, have you seen the videos of me and him go viral? So
no. Talk to me about that.
I put up a video pretty much, it was a while back. You can scroll back my feed and it went pretty big. It was about how he's just eating like just eggs versus whey protein. And when you actually break down he said the bioavailability of eggs is way higher. And look, I'm all for real foods. I am. Like, if you can eat real foods, go for it. But at the same time, when you're online Instagram, you're talking to people that are already struggling to exercise. They're struggling with their mood, their energy. They're struggling to hit their protein. So whenever you're starting to make things even harder for them, you have to realize you're putting barriers in place. Like, does everybody have the time to cook them meals? And at the end of the day, it's late at night, you're not missing your protein. Whey is still a very good protein source. It's got amino acids. It's going to give you muscle protein synthesis. There's nothing wrong with it. as long as you don't get stomach issues from the dairy or whatever, common sense approach. Some people don't like fucking eggs. Joe, it's the balancing game. It's like, what works for you might not always work for that, but it's a one-side only approach where, for example, he'll slay like 0-calorie drinks. And I'm just like, well, where the fuck do I get the lean way in your life? And the thing is, that's not what you, the problem with it is, that's not what you've done to get in your shape and be a pro bodybuilder anyway, because that's now the approach you take. So what you're showing isn't what you've done during that period. It's like me turning vegan and then being like, vegan's the way to do it, but I have these massive fucking arms I built from eating so much meat for 5 years. That's hypocritical. So then I got called out by him then saying, Joe, I'm talking bullshit. I don't have a clue. I don't know what I'm at. And all this stuff. And then he said the chemicals I'm pumping into my body from all this food is terrible for me and that people need to catch a grip. So then I immediately turned around and was like, you're a pro bodybuilder that pretty much fought against Ronnie Coleman or Jay Cutler on stage. And I was like, and you're talking about chemicals in food. What about the chemicals you've been injecting? You're not talking about that, and you have a massive platform. So it's just back and forth, and I don't like I don't like fucking feuds. I'm just like, how do we help more people? And there are people that connect with his message that have got issues and he solves them, and then that's where you create a cult following. Because you get people, you're solving their issues. So it's just one of the things where I think whenever it's black and white, you just need to realize that if you don't connect with that message, it's not for you, it's for somebody else. So I'm just like, that's not for my audience. I know that's not for my audience. So I need to make sure if my audience is watching that they don't fall into that pitfall. I'm 28 now. When I was 21, I didn't have a baldies. I didn't have a fucking note and I couldn't get in shape. Would that message have helped me or would that have hindered me? And that would have 100% fucking hindered me. So I'm like, that's why I'm against that. And I think if you can't go, that's wrong and that's right, for me, a younger version of me, you're vanilla, you're in the middle, you're too afraid to take a stand on fucking anything and you're not going to help anyone. Because I'm not trying to help everyone. I'm trying to help a younger version of me. That's who I want to be, a catalyst for change in that person's life, because I never had that. So if I get a couple of snowflakes or I get a couple of people that are offended by it, that's okay. I'm not looking after you. Somebody else is going to help you. Or you're fucked. But I'm looking after the person I wish could have got help. Do you know what I mean? So it's all about helping that younger version of me.
Personally, being a 44-year-old man, I like his approach, and I think he is going to appeal to people that have exhausted every single avenue. They've tried every single last diet they can. They're still lethargic. They're still fat. They're still sitting on the sofa. And they're like, here's a new approach. Let me try steak and eggs. And if you can sustain that and fine, it works.
There's merits to every approach. And the thing is, it's just like when people preach about keto, intermittent fasting, it's about deficits. You know, that's all it really comes down to. And I think people sort of segue into that. Like, that's why I don't go, fuck this person, that's not right. What do you think about this? I'm like, I know why people connect with that approach. It works for some people. That's sweet. It just wouldn't have fucking worked for me. So that's why I'm not for it. Same as the slow and steady fat loss brigade versus in and out. Some people are like, fuck, that person's nuts. That's okay. It's not you. People attach their identity, though, to their beliefs. And then that means they hate it. It's just like, if you're Protestant and I'm Catholic, it doesn't mean we automatically fucking hate each other. But if you're keto and I'm carbs in the fitness industry, we now fucking despise each other for some reason. Just because I have an opinion that doesn't agree with yours doesn't mean you have to dislike me and I have to dislike you. But that's the problem in people attach their identities to that. And that's where that hatred comes from. And it's fucking toxic.
I'd say, going back to your 40-day theory of just blitzing it out, then getting back to normal. As you're saying that, I'm thinking, I love that. I love the idea of I'm going to go 8 weeks, balls out, meticulous, driven, determined, disciplined. Nothing's going to get in my way. No social event, no stag do, not even a wedding. If someone dies, I'm drinking sparkling water. That's the deal, because I'm in the zone, and I'll do that for 8 weeks, and then I'm going 2 weeks. I'm going to go and sit in the sun on a sun lounger. I'm going to drink pina coladas, and I'm going to eat the chips, and I'm going to have a lovely, lovely time because I put in the shift previous. To me, that's something. That's delayed gratification, what we spoke about. Something to look forward to. It's like there's a good reason why you're being disciplined now.
Yeah, I think as well too, like initially out of a dieting phase, so if I do a 40-day strict block like I did, I'll usually do 2 to 3 weeks of like building calories up after. So it's not just like 0 to 100. And then I'll go a bit more normal, because you'll almost you'll rebound weight on quite quickly after a hard dieting phase, because your body's like, I've just lost all this fat. How the fuck do I gain it back? Because it's a survival mechanism. So I think, and food, like a lot of people don't realize this, after a dieting phase, your body like will up, like it'll literally make food taste nicer. Your taste buds will kick up. That's why You crave food. That's why sugar stuff becomes more palatable. Like you actually want it because your body knows it's calorie dense. So that's why all that becomes, things that are sweet become so much nicer because your body associates that with higher calories. And after the first 3 weeks of diet, if you start going for hell for leather, you'll put on more weight because you'll struggle to even control yourself because your body's literally fighting against you. So that's why initially, like say I do a 6-week hard dieting phase, I'll do 2 weeks of like maintenance calories. So like I done a 40-day cut there and went from 4,000 calories to 2,000 calories for the first 20 days when most people would be like, holy fuck. Then for the last 20 days, I went to about 1,700 with 15,000 steps, which is aggressive. I lost like 7 or 8 kilos. Then I done 2 weeks of maintenance around 2,700 calories, 2,600. For me, it isn't that high still. And I gained maybe 2 kilos and just held. And that's just carbs and water weight come back on. And now I'm ready to slowly start either go back to normal or start gaining phase. And that's that dieting phase completely done in like 6 weeks with 2 weeks of maintenance. So it's handy. But yeah, it's just a different approach. It's just, so there's 100 ways to skin a cat. It's just what way do you want to skin it?
Life is a funny old thing. As you're sitting there rattling off calories and stats and
Bore the tits, yeah.
increment. Well, no, let's be honest. Let's be brutally honest. Nobody, and I mean nobody, no matter how confident they are in public, no one wants to be fat.
Yeah, I think it's as well, it's what it relates to. Like it's not that you necessarily, I think being in shape is a monument to your work ethic, to your ambition. It shows traits. That's why it's attractive. Don't get me wrong, abs are great, but what do they stand for? They stand for discipline, hard work, commitment. These are all traits the opposite sex usually find relatively attractive. Joe, whereas if you're overweight, maybe not prioritizing your health, Joe, are you going to be, you think about it, like Joe, way back in hundreds of years ago, being overweight was probably actually slightly attractive because it showed wealth. Because you wouldn't have the money to fucking eat.
Yeah.
Unless you had, do you know what I mean? So, whereas today it's just different signaling, and we're always doing different signaling without realizing it, whether you're in shape, whether it's the watch you wear, whatever it is. So yeah, it's just, it's an interesting thing because it's such an industry that's growing and growing, it's more present than ever.
I also feel like I'm qualified and I'm in a position where I can use the word fat and I can look down my nose at being fat, because what I'm actually doing is I'm looking down my nose at myself because I was fat. I let myself slide to a morbidly obese, unhappy person. So I've got no problem talking about men that are losing their hair. I feel like I'm qualified to talk about that without anybody taking offence, thinking, well, who the fuck are you? And I think I can talk about how unhappy people are when they're fat, because let's make no mistake, I weren't out of shape, overweight, I was fat and miserable with it, and I didn't like it. So anyone that's walking around fat, when they say, oh, we fat and jolly, it's like, yeah, no one's jolly about being fat.
You give them the option, and what do they pick? That's my sort of thought process around it. So it's just one of them things where I understand that there's mental health, there's life gets in the way, there's other things, but once you're self-aware about it, it's what you do in that situation that defines who you are and how you feel, because that's where the difference is. And I like the term of you look down your nose, but at yourself, not others.
Oh, not others. No. I don't know anybody else's story, their trauma, their pain. And if someone's fat because they're self-medicating with food because they've been through a bereavement, I'm not judging them.
Exactly.
But I'm reminding myself of the man I never want to be again.
Yeah. You as well too, you got enough pain that you change. I feel like that's one of the main reasons most people don't change, is like the reason I got into shape is because I got a lot of pain. So sometimes whenever somebody's not had enough, they'll have to keep going that way until they're like, oh fuck, that's too much now.
So to understand about the man that you are now, and I've spent time with you off camera, and as I said in the green room to my cousin, I said, he's a very impressive human being. And you're a lot younger than me, but I've still learned a lot from you. And that has an enormous amount of respect from me. I tip my hat to you because you are a much better man at your age now than I was at your age. Different lives, different circumstances, but your head is so switched on. I'm excited to see where you go from here. But before we talk about the future, let's go back to the start. Talk to me about your childhood, where you're from, what your parents were like, what the dynamics in the household was like.
I really appreciate that, like a lot. So thank you.
I mean that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
That's not lip service, like.
No, I do, because that's sort of what I've been working on over the last while. Like I've been trying to iron out kinks and issues with myself. So no, it means a lot. So thank you. Yeah, dynamics in my house. Like I was raised in the border of Northern and Southern Ireland. So I'm raised in Newry, which is like in between Belfast and Dublin. Small enough town. I was always like quite a loner child. I struggled to make friends. I had speech therapy until I was like 9 or 10. I struggled to say words. I used to get really frustrated that people couldn't understand me. Most people probably still can't. So I'll slow down. I used to say stuff like wheeze instead of phrase, or I'd say stuff like yeah for yogurt for like years. Like we're talking here. Do you know, like there's a cute age, children do that, and then there's like, son, you're
15.
You're fucking old. You need to learn how to say the word yogurt. And me at 23, yeah. And it got to that stage where I was getting speech therapy in school. I don't know whether I was necessarily bullied or I was just a sensitive child, because I feel like you put two kids in the same position. One goes, that's just kids having fun, and that's just a slag, and that's just a bit of crack. Versus I took it all quite to heart now. Just simple things, you know, like giving my shoes stick because they'd be like a very cheap make because where my family and stuff come from. So like we don't come from like a really wealthy background. We're not like that. And even just a case of like picked on constantly just over small things that you don't control or whatever. And I just would always felt like I don't fit in. And that was all throughout primary school, and secondary school wasn't as bad. But primary school for me was very much like that. Struggle to make friends. I felt always better by myself. Very introvert. Didn't want people around me. Just felt comfortable. And not in like a bad way, but just that was the way my childhood was. And I just got very close as a family unit then because I didn't really have a big social network. And that's sort of the way it was. Secondary school, a little bit different, a little bit more socialised, but I just didn't know myself. Like, I notice now looking back upon it in reflection, I would copy things others said to fit in. I would have dressed like others, would have got my hair cut like others. Just mimicking people without even realising it, trying to fit in. And I never did. Like, I just did not fit in, like, any way, sense or form. I just struggled with that side of things, and it slowly built up into secondary school. I slowly started getting grips in university, but then I fell down like a path of like a lot of drugs and drink and not feeling good enough for myself. And then pretty much I found fitness, and like everything just, I swear I took like a really bad spell over Christmas one period because I took so much drugs that like it was enough for a lifetime.
Was this still whilst you was at university?
It was like my final year, like second year of university, and I hit like a full-time, it's like the pain. I hit like a full-time low point.
Taking drugs at uni is not out of the ordinary.
No, it's normal. So I'm not like, I was a drug addict. I wasn't. I was just a recreational drug user. I was taking ecstasy, cocaine, sorry mom, and anything you can fucking think of that I could get my hands on just for fun.
But it still fried your brain.
It fried me completely. Like, I think some people have the tolerance for it, or they can dodge it, or they pretend like it doesn't matter. Whereas it was too much for me, and I started getting very dark thoughts. Like, not like, so, just felt like a piece of shit. And I always felt like, and I think most men do, and I can't speak for women because I'm obviously not one, but I felt like there was more.
You do know that if you want to be a woman nowadays, you can be.
Yeah, I can be anything. I can be a fucking tree at this stage. I think, do you know what I mean? But I identify as a chair. I think it's interesting because, like, for me, with that case of most people feel like, and I think I speak for everyone when you're like, there's more there, there's potential. I can't put my hand on it, but it's there. I know there's something more.
How long were you doing the drugs for?
Oh, only like first year uni, second year uni, not major, and it would have been like every single weekend, but it would have been like most, and it would have been like a Friday or Sunday thing. Benders would have rolled on.
But you were still self-aware enough to know that this is actually blocking and preventing my full potential.
It registered me once I hit a full-time low point because I was like, if I continue this, I'm just going to get worse because this is only making things worse. Short-term gain of escapism for long-term pain of feeling like a bag of shit.
And what were you escaping from?
I think just not knowing where I wanted to go. I think nobody does really fully know where they want to go, but I felt like this pressure of like, you need to start figuring things out in university. You need to know who you are. You need to know the career you're going. You need to know how you're going to move forward. You feel like this little bit of pressure of like, I need to start figuring out what's going on now because I'm becoming an adult. And whereas, don't get me wrong, it's sort of like a last hurrah too. You want to go full fucking hog because you're like, you're at that stage where you know you're going into full-time work and that. So I think for me, it was I just hit that low point of where I just went, that's me done. Any friends that were taking drugs, gone. Everything just gone. I just went dark for like a year and a half.
Disassociation is the only way to really combat things that are toxic in your life. You can't dance with them. You've just got to kick them out the club.
You have to bury your old self to move on. Like if you leave the hand up and you bury everything else, that fucker of you will claw back out from the ground. You have to bury everything, your beliefs, your identity. You have to put that fucker in the ground with a shovel. You have to beat it down and make sure every inch of it's buried, because if any part of that is left, that will resurrect and that will come. And that can't come with you if you're moving forward. Simple as that. And I knew that there would have been things that clawed me back. Like friends going, why are you not drinking tonight? Why are you not doing this? Why are you not doing that? And then you get all these things that you're also not in a realm whenever you're that age where you understand all that. I just, as you said, disassociated. I didn't even mean to. I was just like, I'm just going to stop drinking. And then naturally what I noticed is, see, when I stopped drinking, I didn't really have friends. I had drinking buddies.
Yeah.
We didn't meet unless we were drinking.
That's the common ground.
Yeah, that was all we had in common. So you're in this middle ground of like, where you're not sure if it's going to pay off. And I was in that for probably like 2 years, and a lot of people don't see that, where like I was getting my fitness in shape, I was applying for the fire service, I was putting in all the work I possibly could in every area of my life. And then slowly the dominoes started to fall in place. Like I started making really good money. I started getting in really good, like I started getting in really good shape. Then I started actually making more money. I got into the fire service. Like I think out of 9,000 people that applied that year, I scored in the top 28 with like no real relatives in the fire service, no real help. And that's usually a job you get into with a little bit of help.
So what were you studying at uni?
Exercise science, which is like, whenever I picked that degree, people were like, you're doing exercise science.
What sort of shape were you in as a kid up to uni?
I bounced through every stage. There was stages where I had fucking tits, and then there were stages where I was super skinny. And then once I hit about 17, 18, just before university, I fell in love with fitness. Like I fell in love with, I remember eating the same meal for about a year. So it was just before uni, I fell in love with fitness, and then I went to uni and fell out of it. So that's the reason I went back to it, because the only time I felt good was that year before, when I had the same meals every single day, and I used to train every single day, which doesn't really make any sense. But like, it just, the routine of it and the process is what gave me love. Like that's what I love. I don't love the outcome. I love the process.
So how did you segue from uni studying sports science to becoming a fireman?
I started lifeguarding on the weekends, and I got a buzz from like saving lives and making a difference. And for me, there's no buzz like that. There's no buzz whenever I know that you are at this position, I've got you to here. That's the reason I've coached. That's the reason I do business mentoring. That's the reason I do everything, is because I want to be that catalyst for change in a younger version of his life or make a difference. That's always what's light me up, and I notice that. So with me, firefighting is like, it's a give back. Like, you're not doing it for the fucking money. And it's a really respectable job, and I knew it'd be hard work, but it's fitness oriented, it's helping people, and it would give me all, it just aligned perfectly for me. So I was like, I'm just going to give this a go. And I'm the least practical person ever. Like, you ask me to fucking do anything, like take a car apart, I'd be like, what the fuck, why do I even open this? So I knew it'd be a challenge, but for me, just sort of it was one of the things where I wasn't sure what I wanted to do after uni. I thought I wanted to teach, I fucking definitely didn't once done placement. So I was like, that's a job that's got meaning, and for me, I always want to make a difference.
Was there any parts of the training you found daunting? Because I have heard a few horror stories of claustrophobia and...
Yeah, like they do stuff where they'll crank up heat and they'll make you climb through like small tubes and they'll get you stuck on purpose. But like, for me, none of that
didn't faze you.
It's just how you deal with a situation. Like, bravery and courage aren't the absence of them. They're what you do when you feel it. When you feel scared, you feel panicky, it's the fact of that's just accepting it and then going, right, well, I'm going to do it anyway. So fuck it. I'm going to give them my best shot. And the thing is, it's doing it when you feel like that shows bravery. You build that rep. You build the confidence by doing it repeatedly until it's born. So you just know that it's just new to you. And once you identify that, and me and you had this conversation the other day, and I was like, I'm really not afraid to die anymore. And I haven't been for a long time, because I feel like if you're afraid to die, you haven't lived. So if I go at any moment, I'm like, well, I live life on my terms completely. And that's the only reason you'd be scared to go. So I'm not scared to go. Like.
I also think if you're scared to die, you're going to be scared to live.
Yeah, bingo, because you're holding on to too much. Yeah, that's my thought.
Everything's a risk.
Yeah, so that's how firefighting went. So I done that for about 3 years, and during that time period, I built my fitness business on the side by accident.
Was there any hair-raising experiences during those 3 years?
Yeah, there's been loads. There's been loads of comedy events too. Like, there is mountains of them because they're happening, but there could be 3 weeks where all the calls are completely naff and boring, and then you get a night where you've got a car crash, you're cutting somebody out of it, and then you've got 2 house fires, and you're like, what the fuck was going on? But the thing is, it's just, you roll with the punches, and there is loads of situations where you do really I don't like the word luck because I believe the harder you work, the luckier you get. But like, you know, where you're in an attic and you're putting out a fire and you go to tap the floor in front of you just to make sure it's there and it's not. And you're like, fuck, there's actually no floor in front of me. So I took a step, I go down 2 stories. Joe, but that's not luck. That's skill. That's reps. That's the training you do. So the thing is, you're desensitized to that because you've done so much. It's like when the fire alarm goes off in the station, yes, you get a buzz, but you're not, whenever he's run out of a burning building, you don't think, holy fuck, I'm running into somewhere there, he's going out. It's just reflex.
Is there anything you saw that made you sad?
I got quite lucky. They called me lucky for a little bit because whenever I booked a day off, there tend to be fatalities. So that happened quite a couple of times in the station I was in. So I got lucky, like, over that time period. Then they changed somebody else's name to Lucky because every time he worked, somebody would fucking die. So it's one of the things where, yeah, like, there's periods where I had to go to CBT, you know, like cognitive behavioural therapy, because they'd be like, that was quite a hairy incident.
And
what
was the incident?
Just stuff where people are like, Joe, they're badly burned, or it's a car crash and Joe, there's kids squealing, or just simply small things that go on that, like, not small things, they're big things, but like, I don't see them as like hair-raising situations. I'm stressful because it just desensitizes me. That's one of the reasons why I do so well in business and all, is because I'm like, it's not life or death.
I'll tell you why I'm digging for something more gratuitous is because I don't think people in the fire service get
enough praise.
They don't get enough praise, enough credit at all, and I don't think people realise that they're not just responding to a smoke alarm in someone's kitchen.
No.
They're responding to hellfire. Like dead children in rooms like the Grenfell Towers.
Yeah,
Imagine being first responder to that. And they get no real thanks.
The reason is because any situation where like we've had a really bad serious incident and the person's like badly burned or they go to hospital or something's happened with the car crashes or whatever it is, you end up knowing the person because you follow up. You want to know what happened. You're like, how did X get on in hospital? Is that person all right? And then they'll come into the station and they'll give you sweets or they'll come in and bring buns or whatever. So you end up actually like forming this like small friendship. So then whenever somebody asks me about Harry's situation, I feel like I'm giving away their personal life. They're the one moment they really need help, and I'm not giving their name, so fair enough they'll be anonymous. But I feel like it's like giving them up.
Yeah.
And I for me, I'm like, even though you don't say my name, if you talked about my situation, I'd be sitting at home going, fuck, that's me. So I don't know, like I situations where like people have their houses burned down, they don't have home insurance, and we have to build the roof on their house at night. Instead of going back to station, we're putting canopies over your roof to give you somewhere to sleep. I'm like, do I need to turn around and say roughly where that was in Belfast, and people know where that is with my size of platform? Whereas I find it funny to be like, I was in the Shankill in Belfast. I find this hilarious. In the Shankill in Belfast, and we pulled a woman out of a house, or so we thought it was a woman. Tights, heels, dragging out. And then as you start to pull out into the daylight, you're like, fuck, these are big enough legs. And then you're like, fuck, this is a dude. There's a bra. And then you realise this is a cross-dresser that's fell asleep or whatever fetish they've been into. And the Shankill is, like, it's not, it would be a tough place to grow up in. So, like, if you're a cross-dresser, that shit's kept private, like. And it's like they're the stories that I find funnier than anything else. Or where you
cling on to the good stuff.
You go into a burning house. Like I remember going to a house fire in Donegal Road, which is like literally middle of Belfast, and we ran in, and there's this boy, and I remember dragging him out with one of the other firefighters, and when we dragged him out, his penis was fucking sitting out, and I was like, what the fuck, Joe, for his wee boxer hole, and it turned out he was watching porn and he'd fucking been blocked and fell asleep, but it was on the screen when we had cleared the smoke and all, and like I find that funny because I'm like, that's just like fucking comedy sketch. Do you know what I mean? You've got blocked, you've tried to have a wank, and you end up burning yourself down and you're killing yourself. It's like, sweet mother of Christ, what the fuck?
What did he do? Put a pizza in the oven while he's having a wank?
Fucking rice in a pot. And I was like, who even cooks rice blocked in a pot? I was like, who are you, a bodybuilder, bro? But like, they're the funny things. Whereas like, there's some instances as well where like people should die, and you're like, how have you managed to get out of this unscathed? Where like cars have like been pinned by lorries and drove for a couple of miles, and you're like, you're arriving at the scene, you're like, this person's gonna be in every shape, and you arrive and the person's unscathed, not completely fine, not even whiplash the next day, and you're like, how? And then that's sort of where you go, maybe luck does come into play, maybe there is God. It's very interesting. It's a different role. But yeah, no, I'm grateful to have done it because it's built me into the character I am today, because it's gave me the morals and values to help others, and I know that's where I want to be.
There was a moment where you had a bit of a crossroads in your life, didn't you, where you wrote a list of things that you didn't particularly like
Yeah.
in your life? Like, talk about that moment. Like, what was the catalyst?
Yeah, so I came out of the fire service because my fitness business picked up to such a stage that I was like, I have to leave it. Like, I was making more in a fitness month than I was in a year of firefighting, so it just sort of hit a stage where I had to leave. And then probably, like, if we're talking about like the last 18 months, where I made a list of like, I made out stuff that I liked and didn't like, or I felt like I was lacking in. So for example, like I mentioned, like, I felt like I was being a bit hypocritical in certain areas of my life, or I think as like a man, in my opinion, you should be able, like, you should be physically fit, you should be able to run, like, you know, be able to mobile, and you should also be able to, not saying be dangerous, but you should be able to handle yourself in an altercation. Versus I felt like I could maybe fight, but like, could I actually handle myself? So I was like, probably not. So I just went immediately as soon as I wrote that out with other things and just started solving them. So I went and got MMA privately for like 6 months. Now I'm not saying I'll fucking fight anybody, but a case of like, if something breaks out, I'm more than capable now. And that gives me confidence then, because it gives me reps in that area. Whereas I feel like if you lack in one area, your confidence isn't full. And I felt like I wasn't as confident as I could be in all them areas. Even like, I went and done, like, some people will be against therapy. I was like, well, I'm going to get a mindset coach. I'm going to get a therapist. I'm going to see what I can gather from each individual and then implement that in my life and see how it improves me. Because I've always found the more I reinvest into me, time, effort, money, I've always got more back in the long run. So I was like, if I can fill these gaps, I'm going to be 10 times the person I was. And whenever I'm more of an ideal person in my eyes, I'll speak with more weight in my word because I can talk through all these situations. And that for me is more like a complete, rounded individual. You haven't got gaps. And if you do, at least you're trying to fill them, because we'll always have them at time periods.
What made you write the improvement list?
I went through like a pretty, I wouldn't say bad breakup, I just went through a breakup, and it really emotionally affected me, like, massively. It was like 6-7 years I was with the person, and I'm the sort of individual, people always say, oh, it's 50-50. I don't care if it was 50-50. I want to know everything that I could have done better, and I will improve them areas so this does not happen again, because I was in a lot of pain from it. I struggled a lot mentally, because it's one of them things where, for me, I was very work prioritized and work focused, and I didn't prioritize the relationship, and it just hit one of them stages where we tried to make it work and we were struggling, and there was issues on both sides. But for me, I know I could have done better, so I'm just like, that's not like me not to improve on that. And Joe, like, to make the mistake once, if you learn from it, it's not a mistake. If I go into the next relationship and do the same things, you haven't learned, you haven't improved. And that would frustrate me even more. And the amount of pain I got from that, I never want to experience that again. That's the lowest point I've ever felt in my life.
Nowadays, with the manosphere out there, men aren't encouraged to say, this hurts. You're now supposed to dust it off like this person didn't matter and life goes on. And it's just not the reality of it. So there's going to be so many people watching these, you know, these figureheads in the manosphere that are saying, like, man up, just go to the gym, work harder. It's like, well, how do I deal with that pain? Because when you lose someone you love, that's a bereavement for whatever reason.
Like, I honestly do believe that there's part of that manosphere that is correct. Like, I don't think you'll ever feel worse after a breakup by getting yourself in good shape, by getting your finances in check, all 100%. But if you don't solve what the main root of the issue was, you're going to repeat it, because you're not solving whatever. That's like putting a plaster over a bullet wound. It's going to help. It's not really going to fucking solve the issue. Like,
Recovery from everything is a program, and I totally agree that the get in shape, level up, earn more money,
100%.
that is 100% part of the program. I'm not dismissing that, because, you know, otherwise, you know, if you're heartbroken, that you're out of shape in your skin, you're going to be really, really, really fucking sad. But part of the program, for me, is got to be ownership, accountability, but you've got to have the acknowledgement, my heart's broken, I now need to mend it. You can't ignore a broken heart and start building the external. It's like, well, what about the heart? Let's mend that first.
100%. And I think it's that thought process of accepting it, whereas I think most people like to, as you said, try and pave over it and pretend like it never happened. Whereas I think as well, like, some of the best moments I've had in my life were with that individual. So I don't want to go, now I fucking hate this person. And you're also letting that person now lead your life in a different direction. You're actually not in control of your life anymore. You're getting in shape, you're getting more money, but it's not for you. It's to prove them wrong. You're actually letting them still drive your life without you realizing it. So for me, I went to therapy, I went to mindset coaching, and the more I dived into it, the more I figured out, like, a lot of my issues in that were because I didn't feel like I was good enough. From whatever reason, people will be like, oh, your childhood or this, that. I just didn't, I always feel like I wasn't good enough. I always felt like I should be doing more, this and that. So that drove the insecurity of working constantly round the clock, because I thought more money, more muscle, more of this will solve this problem, and eventually I'll hit it. But I hit that stage of where my businesses were very large and my muscles were very large, and I was like, oh, I'm still this same insecure person I was, because I didn't identify how you work through that. And the thing is, that helps. I'm not saying getting muscles isn't going to make you more confident. I'm not saying having better money is not going to help you, but it's part of the solution. It's not the full solution, as you said.
Not the full program.
I think sitting with a journal, like actually figuring out like what makes you tick, why are you doing this? Is that for you? Fighting a mission, fighting what lights you up, and figuring out, right, well, do I suck at switching off and prioritizing this? So being self-aware and going, right, well, what rules and standards do I need in place, and build so that moves forward. And that's why I done like 180 days of like no porn, no Netflix, cold water every day, press ups every day. It sounds a bit hardcore, but that's like manosphere stuff. But the thing is, they were to build me so that I can build that routine of like, well, whenever I need to work on a problem, I can sort it. And for me, it's as you said, I think you have to acknowledge it. And I don't like the idea of completely that you're one side or the other. You see these people that are just wet wipes, and they'll just go to therapy and they just listen and they just talk, and their emotions and emotions and emotions. And you're like, right, that's okay. We need to accept the problem. And you get people who are like, ignore your emotions, just get jacked as fuck and make loads of money. And I'm like, why not a bit of both? Or if you are the sort of individual, look just like I said with the fitness, look at it and go, how much of each do I need? Have I got money, muscles, and followers? And has that solved the problem? And if it has, happy fucking days. But if you've done all that and it hasn't, then maybe a little bit of this, or maybe try a little bit of therapy. Or if you've done therapy and you notice fuck all's changing, then let's try a different therapist. Let's try a different mindset coach. Let's try a different approach. Let's try building your body. Let's try building your mindset. Let's try building your financial status and see, does that improve your self-worth as well? And I think it's a combination of everything. And that's why I made out that list, because I was like, there's gaps in my life. I can feel them. I know they're there, but where are they? And being self-aware is the first step to improving yourself in any metric. And the problem is, we don't want to admit that, because then it shows flaws. But the beauty is, we're all flawed, and we're always never balanced. It's trying to get that sway. And it's just, I had so much pain in my life from that experience, that I was like, it's the best and the worst thing that ever happened to me, because I am 10 times the person I am now because of it. So I'm so grateful for it.
So you're grateful for the breakup?
The fucking best thing that ever happened to me, and the worst thing. Toughest thing that's ever happened to me. It broke me completely down to the ground.
Trauma is the greatest teacher.
Yeah, for me, it definitely hit home, and it took a lot of pain for me to change. So I don't know. It would probably take something like that to spike most men.
So now that you're the wolf, current present moment, would you like to bring back your previous partner and bring it into this world with you now?
You can't have it.
But would you like to?
No, like it's not like that, because the love we had at that time is completely different to who I am now, who she is, because like who we were during them time periods is completely different. I was a completely different person. So was she. It's like 18 months, 2 years on now. That's gone. Like that relationship, that ideology, it's the same as anybody that goes for a breakup. You fall in love with the idea of who the person is, and during that time period and moments of it. But that's not the reality anymore. Even if we were to get back together tomorrow, it wouldn't be the same relationship, and it would be completely different. For me, it takes a long time. Like, I took a full year off women after that. Like, I just goes like, I'm taking the full of last year. I took it completely off. There's been no sex. There's been no dating. And people were like, Jesus, mother of Christ. And yes, my balls are very blue.
That's why he's howling in every reel.
It's pain. And yeah, like, don't get me wrong. I've been back in the dating scene now, and it's one of them things. But I said that because I was like, for me, getting under somebody else isn't getting over somebody else. That wouldn't work for me. It might work for somebody else. My numbers have always been very low as a man. Like, they're just not high. I just don't have many sexual partners. I like to date a woman. I like to see her properly. I pride myself on that because it shows self-respect for me. But it's also one of these things where I couldn't work on myself if I'm trying to work on a relationship. They're two, that's not, me jumping from one thing into the next thinks like, well, you were definitely the problem. Let me hop in with somebody else and see how this goes. Whereas I'm like, let me sort all my shit first so that I know whenever I go into another relationship, I'm in a far better position that this doesn't fucking shoot me in the foot again, or it doesn't hurt me as much, because I know I put in groundwork. Because as well, the sort of caliber of woman you want to attract will reflect the type of man you are, and vice versa. You know, the higher level I am in every area, I can expect and I can ask for more because I know what I bring to the table in every area. I know that most people won't do that time period of working on themselves. And that's why I feel like it's so important that most people don't. Now, I'm not saying take a year off, but a case of, for me, I just know it wouldn't have helped my situation.
When you was going through your heartbreak stage, did you stumble across Andrew Tate?
Yeah, of course. I think you'd be lying if you didn't. I think he's the most Googled man on fucking earth.
And how did you find his advice?
I found some of it really good. Like, I think people, like, it's one of them things where I don't promote everything he talks about or not. You're getting cut segments usually. You're not getting the full thing. There's certain things that I really respond well to, like the take responsibility, get in shape, get your finances in check. But then there's things where he'll be like, don't fucking go to therapy, it's for wet wipes. And I'm like, you're speaking to everyone, but that approach will work for certain individuals, not everyone. So that's why I take what's good, what's bad, and I make my own approach. And I think most people should do that. You don't take somebody as the Bible. Take what's good, what works for you, and like getting in shape, getting your act together, driving forward, making sure you're a big success. Like all these things will help you after a breakup. Anybody that says money doesn't make you happy is correct. But money removes a lot of pain and makes life a lot fucking easier. So having it does help. It's not going to be a downside. Like no woman's going to go, fuck's sake, he's a millionaire. Like that's a good trait to have. Fuck's sake, he's got a six-pack and he's in shape. Like they're going to go, these are good traits. They show commitment, they show work ethic, they show he can provide, good hunter-gatherer, all these traits that necessarily are good things to have. Nobody's going to go, fuck's sake. Do you know what I mean? They're going to say they're good, attractive qualities in a man. Versus if you don't have any of that and you've just been sinking pints and taking drugs for the last 5 years and now you've had a breakup, you have a lot more groundwork to do. So that's a good place to start, because if you're struggling mentally, sorting the body and the finances will usually help sort a bit of the mental, and then you can do that work. Like you can't always cure the mind with the mind. Sometimes you need to cure the mind with the body. Name somebody that gets in better shape and then says, I feel a million times worse. Now it's different if you're in a bodybuilding show, but I mean, if you were overweight and now you're in good shape with abs, you're usually going to feel a bit more confident. You're going to put on a t-shirt and go, you know what, I actually look okay. I've leveled up. So I think there is parts of it that are definitely key with helping that side of things, 100%. And anybody that doesn't is just fighting who's delivering it rather than the message.
I think for plenty of people, if you take care of the body, the mind will take care of itself.
Like for me, when shit goes wrong, I get angry, I get upset. The gym is me. The gym is where I go. It's like it's like church. It's like I go there, I never come out with a bad headspace. And I think the thing is as well, name one person that goes to the gym or goes for a walk with a bad headspace and regrets it after. You know, like who goes out for a walk and goes, shouldn't have went for that fucking walk. My head's way worse. No. Shouldn't have went for that gym session. Shouldn't have went for that run. No, it doesn't happen. You always got to feel a bit better. So it's just it's just something to improve. It's like going for a good coffee with like a family member. You don't go, shouldn't have went for that. Even if the conversation was shit. It's like you don't regret it.
Yeah, for sure. Where do you pull your inspiration from? Have you got any role models?
I honestly don't think, like, it comes from, like, traits in certain individuals inspire me. So, like, but to be brutally honest, like, there's things in my mum, my dad, my sister that inspire me that I see on real close levels. Like, for example, like, my sister's a really fun individual. So I'm always like, the energy you bring to a room, it's inspiring, because I'm like, I like to be around you as an individual. I hope people feel like that around me. So that's something I would like to emulate. So I'm like, what can I take from you that's good? And then what can I take from somebody else that I like? And then this. So there's nobody that I'm like, you're a complete rounded individual. Because you'll see loads of people and they're driving Lamborghinis and they're pulling women, but then they haven't got the family life. They're not really happy deep down. You can see it. Versus I wanted that complete rounded individual and go like, their life seems pretty on the money for me, because I know if I don't, like, I can afford a Lamborghini, I can afford a big house, I can go out on Instagram and I have followers, I can pull women. But like, I know that doesn't fully fill my cup. Whereas like having a good family life, having a laugh, not needing to chase things, that's full round circle for me. And I know that's what brings me happiness. Whereas I couldn't find that individual at all. So I sort of feel like, to me, I need to create that person. I still am slowly molting them, but in the process of molting them, you sort of inspire yourself, because then when you look back, you're like, fuck, I've actually done this. Like I've actually gained 1.5 million followers over the last year, 2 years. I'm getting messages daily now. I'm changing lives. So I'm like, if I'm doing this now, what am I going to be doing in 3 years? What am I going to be doing in 5 years? Don't look at it, somebody else for aspiration. Look at yourself in 5 years and go, where can I be? And even if you don't feel like it, look at yourself 3-4 years ago and go, where was I? Where am I now? And sometimes the path looks unclear, but it's not a case of like being like, I'm going to have X. It's just a case of like, can you inspire yourself compared to where you were? And if you put in the hard work for long enough, that happens, and then it builds the momentum. There's enough people doing great things. Like you've got Jordan Peterson, great person, but I don't know if he's a good person. There's a difference between being great and being good. And for me, I want to be a good man. And that's the traits I've learned off them individuals. I know what's right and what's wrong. And for me, it's like, what morals and values do I want to align myself with that let me, at my last breath, go, I fucking done it right. I don't have no regrets. I've done the best I can. And for me, it's that case of, you can name The Rock or any inspirational figure, and to me, that you don't know what that person's really like. So that's the reason why. And it's, for me, the people that inspire me are the people that, like, when I have a really bad moment, who do I turn to? Because they're in your corner, and that's the only people I really want around me. And that's why I'm very close with only a couple of people. It's not because I like that quote, keep your circle smaller. I think it's just because I'm like, I know when shit hits the fan, I've got yous have got me. And that's one of the reasons why, like, if there's any financial issues in my house, I just cover. Because I'm like, I can't always solve other problems, because that's not what I'm good at. But I'm like, we have any issue on that front, don't you stress about it. Like, that's covered by me. And that's where you bring different things to the table. And that's where people get messed up as well. They just think because you don't bring one thing to the table, that's not good. You can cover other areas, and that's what makes a complete rounded family unit or a complete rounded relationship. It's like, it's the balancing that's perfectly unbalanced, but knowing that, like, nobody's going to be fully complete. But yeah, for me, that's sort of me in 3-5 years is who I want to be, and that person inspire me. It's like, I know I inspire a younger version of me, and that is my mission, to be that catalyst for change in that person's life, and to be like, that made the difference. If it's one quote, if it's one word, if it's one free workout plan I give out.
Touch base, because you've got 3 businesses.
Yeah.
Touch base on all 3 of them, just so people know what you do beyond the reels and the howling.
Yeah. So, like, I'm really known initially for results. So, like, fitness results. So fitness coaching is the main thing I do, 1-to-1, and I do a coaching up, right? Straightforward as. So I get people in fucking unreal shape. Second one is, this is the order they launched in. That one went so well that I started to gather quite a large amount of money at a young age. So I started a property business. Wasn't really out of passion. It was just because I was like, I'm building quite a large amount of wealth. I need to reinvest this. So I built a property portfolio. It turned into a business where I have now, like, quite a large amount of staff working for me, renting houses, sourcing them, all that side of things. That's quite large now on a scale of where, like, it took over quite a large amount of my life for a long time period. It's scaled to a bigger size than fitness almost, and then keeps growing, because it's almost like, I don't believe in the word passive, it's just less active. It doesn't require me as much, whereas fitness, I have to be the face. Property, I don't. And then the last one I do is, like, I mentor other fitness coaches to make money. So pretty much build their businesses from scratch. We scale from pretty much 0 the whole way to about 1.5 million a year in sterling. So that's roughly where we guide coaches from and to. So they're the 3 layers of business, all really do make a difference in lives. Obviously, I probably get slightly more fulfillment out of the mentorship, because I get to see a change in people's income and status and their entire quality of life for them and their family. And the same with fitness, whereas property is more of like don't get me wrong, I'm housing people and stuff, but it's less emotional. It's more, it makes money, it makes sense, and it's long-term wealth that isn't reliant on me howling down Instagram for reels, or if I get cancelled, it's also a safety net for me. So that's where majority of my money has went over the last 7 or 8 years. It's just been reinvested in that bit, one business to build it.
What's your favourite out of the 3?
It's definitely between the mentorship and fitness. For me, I think fitness is always my passion, because if I didn't, don't get me wrong, I love coaching coaches to change there's no bigger change in somebody's life I see than whenever they go from overweight to in shape, that you see a massive change in their confidence. Or when you see somebody go from making £1,000 a month to £10,000 a month. Now, we get people to make a lot more than that. But see that quality of life difference between earning like minimum wage and earning 100 grand plus a year. It's like where your family doesn't stress about bills anymore. You don't have to worry about your mortgage. You don't have to worry about where the money's come from. You get confidence in yourself. That change in an individual as a coach is massive too. So for me, I wouldn't have any of them without the fitness. So I think fitness is where I love the most, because it's what made me. Without the gym, I had nothing. It was like, it's what saved my life. Like, Joe, whenever times are dark, yes, there's family, but that's like where I go.
Talk to me about the importance of exercise, and aim it at people that haven't tried exercise as a solution to any of their problems.
Oh, like you don't need to go chicken and broccoli. You just need to try going for a walk and tell me you don't feel better. It's as simple as that, because it's one of these things where if you go to the gym, even if the workout isn't great, even if you don't know what you're doing, you've had the discipline, you've went and done it, you've done something that's slightly difficult for yourself and it builds you up. And for me, it's like, it's a full flow process. Like now when I go to the gym, I put on good music. I have a tin of Monster energy drink or whatever I'm having, and it's like, I enjoy that.
Don't let Eddie Abbew hear that.
Yeah, he'll freak fucking tits, but I have an energy drink. I enjoy the taste of it, or a good cup of coffee. I'm in there, good playlist on. In between my sets, I love that as much as the sets. The sets are hard work, but I love like where my brain goes in between the sets. Like I'm thinking the music's good. I'll maybe dance in between my sets, not like full rave, but like I'm in flow. Now you won't be comfortable doing that the first time you're in the gym, but like I'm like, nothing else matters. I can't think about anything else. And like I have my phone, like, you can't get me. My notifications are off. My phone's black and white. It's away. I just have Spotify on. So like you can't, I don't go into apps. It's like my flow time. It's like me time. It's like going for a walk with no headphones, no nothing, and you just are enjoying it. You're just in flow. And if anybody's ever been in flow, you've been doing something, like if you really enjoy football or you enjoy sport and you're playing it, you don't think about anything else. You're just enjoying the moment. Or if you're in a nightclub and you're used to that and the music's just, you know, when that song comes on and you're like, you're just there. That's like me in the gym. So I know no matter how bad the day's going, I have that. And the beauty is, no matter what the trigger is, whether it's death, whether it's breakup, whether it's a bad day, a good day, my response is always, I'm going to go to the gym. It'll make me feel even better. So that's the only way I can explain that. And if you can build in that thought process of, I feel like shit, what's going to make me feel better? Right, well, taking drugs, probably not going to help. Eating like shit, probably not going to help. Eating good, it's not going to hurt. Training, going for a walk, probably going to help. You start to lay in common sense, but when you ask yourself, I feel like this, what's my solution? Whereas most people don't. They go emotional and they let the emotion drive. I'm going to eat a fucking tub of Ben & Jerry's, or I'm going to lie on the couch and watch Netflix. But ask yourself, like, very rarely is that going to actually fill your cup in the long run. So it is that process, as you said. It's like asking yourself what is going to help you in the long run. I understand some people struggle with discipline, but once you get momentum, that's the key. It's just starting. And that's where some people just need enough pain to really start. Not every individual will, but I think that is a key metric in driving that change in any area of your life. Even that, especially for people that are just starting off in fitness, like you don't need to go 5 days a week. You can go 3 days a week. You can go with a friend. You still need to take that serious. You can go for a walk, like up and down. Like I take a walk up and down my street all the time. Like people are like, with a cup of tea and my dog, it's like 800 steps, 1,000 steps. It's like 8 minutes. And it makes me feel so much better. I never want to do it. I'm always like, oh, fuck's sake, it's Joe drizzling outside. But I always feel better after. I'm not doing it for that. I'm doing it for the feeling after. It's like the ice water. It's the reason I done the Wim Hof events. I didn't do it because I was like, I love the ice. I love cold. I love freezing my fucking balls off. I didn't. I've done it for the after, the proud, the discipline. Anything you've ever had in your life has came from a hard choice, a hard decision, and you stuck it out. Always. Like I didn't want to do the fire service training. But afterwards, I was like, fuck, I'm built myself. And you build your confidence, your self-belief by not just having it, but by doing things until it's born, or by building that stack of proof. You are who you say you are. Or if you're not confident, you do enough things that a confident person does that it builds that.
Before I ask you about the Wim Hof experience, because there'll be plenty of people interested in that. But before we do that, I want to know, see, for me, men your age need men like you. You're not out rumping and dumping and sniffing coke. You're leveling up. You're looking for love. You're building a better version of yourself. You've got vision, you've got drive, and you've got morals. I think it's important that people your age follow people like you. You're 28, I'm 44, and I think the younger generation are vastly losing their way for one reason or another, their attention span, their lack of drive, their entitlement. I think you're a tremendous figurehead for your generation. So on that note, tell people where they can find you on every platform.
You just type in my name, so Tony McAleavey. You'll put it in the show notes, I assume, and that's on every platform like Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook. Facebook's actually my biggest platform, which is hard to believe. I don't know how, but yeah, you'll find me on all them. I'm sure my name will be somewhere in there, but that's where you'll find me on everything, and I post.
Shall I tell you what? Another thing I found since I've been podcasting, if someone says something that I like or respect or admire, there is no way I'm just going to sit here and let them carry on without acknowledging it and giving them the kudos that I believe they deserve. And some people in the comments hate it, kissing the guest's ass. And I want to say this, and I want to make it absolutely clear to the people that see where I just praise the things about you that I respect and admire. That will really trigger someone in the comments. Not many people, but this, what I'm going to say now, is more aimed at the person leaving the shitty comment because they don't like someone paying somebody else a compliment. Let me tell you the importance of paying another human being a compliment. Most people are downtrodden, they've been shit on, they've been betrayed, they don't even believe in themselves sometimes. And what you see in somebody, sometimes they're not even aware that they've got those attributes and qualities. And you'll be amazed what somebody can achieve if you highlight the greatness in them that you've seen. If you've got friends or family or anybody that you care about and you want them to have a happier, more fulfilled life and believe in themselves, you show them, verbalize how much you believe in them and specify what it is about them that you like and admire. Watch them grow. Watch your relationship improve with them, and you'll also feel like a better person yourself because it's good to give back.
Like, I never hear stuff like that. So like a lot of people think I get a lot of love online, but it's not to that weight. And I get a lot of hate online. So it just helps whenever you hear it.
I think a lot of men are lost because no one lets them know that they believe in them. And look at the male suicide rate. Do you think men would be killing themselves if their best friend told them once in a while how great they were?
No, yeah, I agree. I think
a lot of men put each other down because they feel like they're in competition. It's like, there's enough to go round, and support each other and you'll all evolve together. You don't need to put someone down.
I feel like that competition comes from, and I'll openly admit it, I think whenever you are thinking of a men or competition, that's for females. Because realistically, we're putting there for reproduction. Like, that's literally the entire reason we're here. And I think that subconsciously drives that without men realising it. But whenever you have, like, for example, you have choice, you have quite a large amount looking, that doesn't become into my mind frame at all now. So all I'm thinking is, how do I help other men get to that level? Because I wish I got to it sooner. Because when you have that abundance of choice, it makes it really fucking easy. Because you're like, well, if I want it, it's there. And then that stress goes away. So I no longer... I think when I was younger, I probably would have looked over men like competition, like, hey, he's bigger than me, he's leaner. And then that also made my insecurities go away because I know how much I bring to the table. Versus I think that thought process of, like, who do you look up to, who's got it, but how are they actually helping me get there, or do they just have it? When you give, you automatically get back.
100%.
You don't mean to, but I've noticed that. Like, for example, you probably wouldn't have followed me or known me, but during lockdown, I gave away free training plans at home.
I was too busy getting fat.
Yeah, but you should have known me. That was
I wish I did.
The first week of lockdown, I gave away free dumbbell, barbell, and bodyweight workouts for men and women at home. Because I was like, there's very little I can do to help people right now. But if I can get you exercising or you're struggling, here is what I'll give. And I gave away for free. And I immediately had so many PTs in my DMs going, why are you giving that for free? You're going to be out of business. You're going to be this. See, when the gyms reopened, I had never had my business double or triple as quick in my life because people went, he helped me when I struggled. So why would I give my money to somebody else? And I think that always adds up. And I didn't do it tactically like that, but when you give, you always get. Like, you always remember when you were low who helped you. It's like my mum always says, on the way up, watch what you're doing because you never know who you're going to need on the way down. Because we're all coming down. That dark day is coming. And the thing is, you don't know who the next person is going to help you. You're going to need a hand from, or you might not want a hand. And you might think you're okay, but it's one of the things where that's why you look after your people as well. But I think that's an interesting concept in terms of the belief thing. For me, that hits home because I think when I was younger, that inspiration, I didn't need inspiration. I needed somebody to turn around and go, fuck inspiration. I believe in you. You can go the distance. That is what most people want to hear. And that faith guides somebody. It's like, you can do it. It's like, you can. Whereas if you're walking up to hit a penalty and people go, you're going to miss, you might still put it in, but you're not helping. Whereas if you go, you're putting that in the back of the net all day, that is never hurting your chances. And when somebody has one person having faith in you is all you need if it's the right person. It's like if you're going home and your wife doesn't have faith in you, or your partner, and they're not backing you, or
You need to get a new wife.
because they're your rock. The one thing I highlight though as well with this, and I think this is a key mark, because people are very quickly to go, right, well, fuck them. Have you gave that person a reason to believe in you, or have you quit every fucking time? Because when people go, every time I started that, my partner gets on me, I'm like, but have you stuck to it out out of the last 10 you've done? And they're like, no. And I'm like, so where's the faith in yourself to give her something to believe in? Like, I remember the first time I started training, dieting, launching my business, my ones were obviously like a bit apprehensive because it's something brand new, so rightly so. But then once you've done it so many times and been successful in so many areas, see when I say I'm doing something now, my ones are like, well, this is where we're going now. They're like, well, this is fucking happening. Because if you don't give them proof, why the fuck should they back you? It's like betting on a horse that's lost the last 10 races, but if it, like, at least do better and back yourself first. Give yourself that opportunity. Because if you stick to 6 weeks of dating, they're going to build faith in you because you've shown you've done the work yourself. You have to do the work when nobody believes in you, and then people will give you that belief.
And also, like, use a bit of common sense and flexibility with my advice about believing in someone. If you keep believing in someone and then they end up getting 3 years for burgling someone's house, that's when you stop believing in them, putting them in the piece of shit category, and never speaking to them again. Yeah, don't keep like returning the belief on someone that isn't worthy of it.
Yeah.
But if you can see greatness in someone, don't keep that shit to yourself. Tell them.
I'm all for positive reinforcement. I'm seeing things and people don't see in themselves. Like what you said there, it means a lot to me because it's what I want. So it's like what I'm trying to emulate, it's what I'm trying to do. So it makes me know I'm on the right path, so I'm doing things okay. I'm not, because the thing is, we're all just fucking winging it. Like everybody is winging it. So you're like, this is where I'm roughly trying to go. Let's try and go in that direction. Let's do our absolute best. But then getting a little bit of reassurance, like, oh, you actually are going in that direction. I can see it. You're like, oh, thank fuck, because that's where I'm trying to go. So it's just nice to get that because it reaffirms what you're doing, and that's it, where you build that stack of proof that you are doing it, and then they can either get on or get off. And then that's where that decision process comes, because you don't need anybody doubting you whenever you don't doubt yourself, because that's what gives you doubt.
Yeah, totally. And I'm going to find out where you're going to go after we spoke about Wim Hof, and then we'll sign off with your future. So you've just come back from a Wim Hof
event we flew into Prague and we went up into the Polish mountains, roughly.
Yeah, break down the process of what happens on one of those Wim Hof events from start to finish. You land, you go to the resort, what happens from there?
Yeah, so pretty much the reason I signed on is, as I told you, I had a friend who'd done multiple challenges, climbed Kilimanjaro, and I asked them, what is the hardest thing you've done? Her name's Caroline McKenna, very talented individual, and County Down Under, and she was like, nothing will beat Wim Hof. It was so mentally tough. So I immediately, like a dickhead, was like, I'm going to ignore everything else. I'm just going to go straight for that. And like, don't get me wrong, I've done cold dips. Like, I've done them once a week just to clear my head for like a couple of years, but like not like intense cold water therapy. So I wanted a challenge because I think you always grow. So I goes, that's what I'll do this year, just as something different. It's not, and I think fitness people are very hypocritical. They don't realize, they go, push yourself outside your comfort zone, and yet all they do is eat the same fucking meals and just gym. That's your comfort zone, son. So you're talking about pushing outside of it, but you're doing reps in the gym. There's nothing more comfortable for you. So for me, I hate the fucking cold. So that is proper, I fucking hate it. And so I booked on that. We done like 6 months of training for it, so I did. I done cold water every single day for about 175, 76 days before I went.
So it actually requires...
It doesn't require it, it's up to you, but I done that prep for it because I was like, this is going to be deadly. So you rock up, and it's pretty much built on 3 pillars, they say. So it's built on breath work, cold water therapy, and discipline, the idea of doing it every day. Now, I'm going to be honest, I researched very little. The only reason I went is because I heard it was tough. And I was like, it's cold water, it's going to be difficult. Sure, I'll get something out of it. There was a lot of breath work. I've never breathed as much in my fucking life. I need a new set of fucking lungs. To me, it's a lot of breathing quick in, breathing quick out, breathing in through the lungs, in through the stomach. It's almost like a form of hyperventilating. I don't like the term hyperventilating, but forceful breathing. You'll see Oxygen Advantage do a much more relaxed method. He does that. I'm not saying there's right or wrong. I don't know enough about the science. But the first time we went in, the first day, you done an hour and a half of breathing. Like, I had never laid down and breathed or meditated for that long. So you do get insights because you're lying there doing nothing but breathing. So your mind drifts, it comes back, you're falling fucking asleep. and then you're waking up, or you don't know if you're passing out because you do breathing, but then you're doing big long holds of your breath for maybe like 2, 3, 4 minutes at a time when you build up. Now it sounds like you wouldn't be able to do that, but once you do like 10 rounds of breathing in and out super fast, you can build up the retention to breathe that long. So you do get visions, you do hear people like screaming and shit. It's weird. It's different. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong. It's person dependent, like everything. And then you do the ice bath. We done the first ice bath that night for like it wasn't even that long, it was a couple minutes a night, and then you air dry. So like you're just standing in the Polish mountains in your khaks or your Speedos or whatever the fuck you're wearing, no towel, and you're just sort of dancing about trying to heat up. And that was like the first day. So don't get me wrong, that was alright. That was not major. We'd well prepped. Second day was like a silent meditation ice bath. So from the moment you leave to the moment you're out of the ice bath till you warm up again. So like maybe 20 minutes of silence, 10 minutes in, 10 minutes in, then 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes or whatever, just heating up. Then the third day we get dragged to the waterfall, and that's like where you're hiking for 3 miles or 3k up a mountain into the waterfall for like 10 minutes. He's beating fucking drums, shouting to you, and then you're air drying in the mountains, cold, no towels, and the water is fucking, it's not like an ice bath you get at home, it's flowing. Mountain water's like cold. Now we go get back home and it's flowing through you, and like your hands are cold, everything's cold, and whenever you get out of the water, all you want to do is heat up. You want a cup of tea, you want the clothes on, and that you're done. Whereas when you're standing there and you're trying to heat up by moving, you're like, fuck, I am froze, my balls are gone. And then you build, every day gets a little bit tougher. The fourth day then we done like ice baths to pretty much failure. So it was like 5 in, 5 out, 5 in, 5 out, 5 in, 5 out, 5 in, 5 out. So whenever you're out, you're fucking frozen, then you're getting back in. That was a bit of a different type of pain for me because we were used to doing long stints in the ice bath back home.
That's almost an hour of remaining cold.
It probably, yeah.
5 minutes freezing, the other 5 minutes cold because you're not going to get warm before.
No, it's shite. There's no point in saying like it's just. People be like, it's good for your health.
It's shite.
It's just shite. Like, 'cause I remember like the third time I was getting out and I was like, I'm not even gonna pretend like I'm loving this. I was like, that sucks balls. But I was like, I'm there to be mentally broken. My entire reason for going was I was like, I want you to push me to breaking point and get past it. And I did make out on Instagram like it was a bit of like a easy thing. Now don't get me wrong, it wasn't easy, but it wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. I thought they were going to be fucking drilling us into the ground. So 5 in, 5 out. And then the last time we went in, they were like, you're just going to go in until failure. So I was like, wonder what failure is. So they're like, close your eyes and you just get in. And maybe 6, 7 minutes in, there's no timer, so you don't know how long it is. So you could be in there 30 minutes, you could be in there 3. It's just your reality, your reality of time slips because you're just feeling ice. And you're sitting there, eyes closed. But then every so often you can just feel the water ripple and you know somebody got out. And you're like, fuck yes. Joe, you're sort of like, oh, I've done well. But for me, I was like, this isn't too bad because for me, an ice bath can only get so cold because it's only such a small unit of water. So you do start to heat it up. So then they're adding more ice in. And at the end of that, the groups are broken down into like 10, 15 in a group. There's only 3 of us left at the end of that challenge. And then she starts making you move your arms to make you colder. We're maybe in like 10, 11, 12, 13, whatever minutes, I assume at that stage. And then she's making you move about and you're fucking frozen. And if anybody's been in an ice bath, like see when you're sitting like this, you've got a nice wee heat bubble around you, you don't want to move. And then she's making you move about, or he is. And you're like, fuck's sake, Joe, because you're warm. You're as warm as you're going to be in an ice bath. And then you're moving your arms and you're getting colder. And then they're making you dunk your head. And then they're like, don't worry, you stay here as long as you want. This is just till you're done. And you're sort of like, fuck. But like you're battling your mind the entire time with like the mind is just saying, get it out. Because like this is not good for you. You're sore. You're in pain. You can't feel your hands. You can't feel your feet. They're actually stinging. And your body's going into a little bit of like hypothermia. So the entire body's just saying, tap, 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 tap. And my mind's just going, and your mind's even saying it. And then you have to sort of battle your thoughts. And you're like, well, if I quit right now, my entire thought process is I don't quit. I won't quit. I'd rather die in that fucking ice bath than be... For me, my identity is built upon it. I just don't give up. I just won't. It's just not in me. And the only way that identity is built is by not quitting. So when times get shit, I double down. Every time. And people will be like, that's a bit extreme. You're not dying in ice bath. I'm like, but if I didn't do that, I'd go back the next year. And I was like, I do not want to come back. I do not want to come back.
Enough.
I'd be back. So I was like, I'll just stick it out. And then they're telling you stuff like, no, there's no shame in quitting. Like, nobody's going to know. Joe, you've done enough. You're pretty much at the end now. And I'm just sitting there quiet, not saying a word, thinking to myself, I'm not fucking quitting. I'm not fucking getting out of this ice bath. I'd rather die in this. I'd rather die in this cold, shitty mountain than get off. And then a couple minutes after that, they came over after they went round everyone. There was only 3 of us left. And the Colombian woman that was taking us was like, just so you know, like, you're in way over max exposure. We're calling it over. So I don't know how long it was. She took us out, and I was like, you know what? Not too bad. I was like, I'm fucking buzzing now, because I was like, I've got through this. And she was like, you're not allowed to heat up. You just have to sit on the side of the mountain. The 3 of you is the exact way you were in the ice bath, and we're going to heat you up as slow as possible, because you probably have hypothermia. And so we had to sit on the side of the mountain with the wind beating of us for about 10 minutes, just sitting there breathing, just to heat up. And it sucks balls so much. And I remember turning around to my friend Helmy and Owen and going, this is bad. But I was like, it's not too bad. And Helmy turned around to me and goes, look at your hand, mate. And I was like, and I looked up, my hand was pure like, Joe, your man from Scary Movie, it was fucked. And I was like, trying to unspasm it, because I couldn't feel them. And I was like, but I'm the sort of fucker, like, I was like laughing, being like, I was making jokes. And then Joe, obviously the instructor, and I was like, what's so funny and all? And I'm like moaning about with my wee claw hands. And then you heat up maybe 10 minutes after that, then you're warming up, then you're moving, and I remember getting back to the classroom and having like maybe 6, 7 layers on me and maybe 3 hats and a hoodie, and I was like, I'm getting it now. I started getting it really tight then. So I had to do a lot of breathing work and breath work and heating up. And then we got rumours the next day that somebody had passed away in one of the groups over, like, I don't know if it was hypothermia or breathing practice. They said it was in a room at night, but like there's no confirmed, like, we never got word on it. It's just like Joe whispers. So I don't know what the fuck happened there. And then during some of the days, like, people were taking fits during the breathing practice.
Fitting out?
Like, somebody's taking a fit, yeah, like, and that's me being straight. But then there's other people that, like...
Do you have to sign a disclaimer? Yeah,
there's a massive waiver that may as well say anything that happens to you, best of luck, mate. This isn't like Joe, you're protected, Joe, there's this. And then when you hike up the mountain the next day topless in just shorts, which sounds extreme, like, it's you and the instructor. It's not like you and a fucking paramedic crew's going up there, and if you drop it, so it's like, if you drop, it's like, best luck, mate, see you on the way down. And I sort of like that, because otherwise, where's the risk? Where's the skin in the game? Like,
where's the fun?
Yeah, like, do you know what I mean? And for me, I'm like, I want that. I don't want to be like, oh, it was safe and it was a bluff. But we had prepped for 6 months, going for hikes at night, into the water for 20 minutes, air drying for 20 minutes. So we were ready for war. Like, I was ready to be fucking told, it's 3 a.m, we're getting in the ice baths for half an hour, and I was like, fucking yeah. So when I arrived and you're lying down for half an hour doing breathing practice, thinking about traumas in your life, I was like, fuck, it's all right, this is handy. So it was different. And I'm not saying that's wrong or it's right, or some people taking the fits, like, afterwards were like, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. I felt like the trauma came out of my body. I'm like, oh, well for you, mate, but like, I ain't having no fit.
That was my favourite fit ever.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Yeah, so for me, it's like, I believe, like, everything, you take what you like from it. Like, I don't believe you have to do an hour and a half of breathing in an ice bath every day. But I don't believe, like, taking a cold shower, cold ice bath, I feel worse after it, I feel better. So there's merits to everything. I done it for the ice challenge, and it was a challenge, but I still felt like I didn't really get out of third gear. But I know other people broke completely during it.
Oh, I bet they did.
That's just your prep.
It's all your reps. It's a tough old game. What about when you met Wim Hof? What was he like?
Mad. Like, in a good and a bad way, like, completely unapologetically himself, which I love. So, like, completely into the water, shouting, like, absolutely bananas. But I love that, because I'm like, you are fucking, what you say, what you see is what you get with you. But, like, a case of where, like, at the same time, like, it wasn't like a really deep conversation or anything like that. It was just like, you know, the water will heal you, and a lot of shouting and a lot of energy. It's very like they treat him like a messiah. It's very like that. Because he has, like, a lot of people will have been taking depression medication for years, and then they'll go to this event, or they'll find him online, they'll do the breath work, they'll do the cold water, and stop taking the medication, and they get better. Not saying that works for everyone, but it worked for them. So then they're like, he's changed my life. So you do see a lot of that, like, people where they're like, I can't thank you enough. And for me, it's just a case of medication might work for you, that might work for you, or maybe a mix, or maybe not. You just take what works and what doesn't.
Did you feel like you connected with Wim Hof, or did you think that when he was talking to you, he could have been talking to 100 people at once? Do you know what I mean? I
felt like he could have been talking to 100 people at once. I'll not lie. That's me, straightforward. But he's also been round the block. There's a lot of people at these things. It's hard to get a deep connection. It's like if I'm coaching 100 people at one time period, you're trying to hit everyone, but also the individual. So it's like you're not going to be able to cater to that. So even when you're talking to him one-on-one, or you're getting a meet and you're getting photos and you're getting the crack on him, he's not getting the time to build the relationship rapport. Whereas I reckon if you'd done it 5-6 years ago, you would, because there wouldn't have been as many at it. Whereas he's probably just a bit drained as well. You know, there's only so much, and his message is out there now.
And was he likeable?
Yeah, like I enjoyed him because he's just he's just like, you know, he's himself. Like, you know, there's no facade. Like, he's not afraid to say anything like, fuck medication, fuck this, fuck that. You're like, oh, you have no filter. But I'm like, this has worked for you and you preach it, so all credit to you. I don't be like, oh, well, my identity is attached to this and you're wrong. I'm just like, well, if it works for you, I'm sure it'll probably work for somebody else. But like, I just take what I rate from it.
I think he's great. But for me, the madder the better.
That's sort of the process I am.
I love a madman.
I'm not going to turn around and be like, you're wrong or you're right. I'm like, I enjoy it because you are so out there that like, you're just you in every realm. And you find something that worked for you and changed your life and it's changing other people's lives. So see, as long as he's causing no harm, then that's fine. But if people are taking fits or down and there's issues there, that's where I sort of be like, right, well, this shit's a bit fucked, or there's blurred lines here.
Come on, Wim.
Yeah, so there's that balancing game. So I know,
Play the game.
Yeah, I think there's just that fine line. But then like it's up to, I feel like just bring common sense to it, but common sense ain't so fucking common.
Nah.
But yeah, different sort of journey. But like, it built me as a person, because for me as well too, it wasn't about the event. It was the prep during it. It was getting up at 4 a.m, going to the mountains, doing the dips by myself or with my friends. They're the reps that mattered more to me. The journey, the process is what built me as a person more than the 5-6 days in Poland, because the battle is won in the training ground, not in the arena. And for me, that's what built my character.
Train hard, fight easy.
Yeah, like the no Netflix, the ice baths every day, that built me into a better person. It's not about the end result. It's just about who you become during that process, and that's what I thrive on. That's why every goal I set is bigger and bigger now, because I don't want to reach it.
And going back to you as a person and your journey in your future, as a sign-off, what does the future hold for you? And if there's anything else you want to say to anybody watching, go right ahead.
I honestly don't know what the future holds for me, because if you told me where I'd be now 3 years ago, I would have said, fuck. I'd be buzzing with that. That'd be unbelievable. That's out of this world. So like where I am now, it's not anything monumental, but like the person I am, the skill set, the financial, even the family man I am, and the morals, for me, everything is light years ahead of where I ever thought it could be. I never thought I'd be able to have that sort of level in anything. So just to do the work and to move forward into that, I'm excited to see where it goes. But as you said, like, I don't know if it's TV, I don't know if it's Instagram more, fitness, more it's just going to be a case of like, keep building my personal brand, keep trying to change as many lives and make an impact as much as possible. As long as I'm doing that, then I'm happy. I don't care if it makes me more money, less money. As long as I'm making more of an impact, that's all I want. So for me, it's like getting more eyes on me, and the personal brand is probably what I'm going to be focusing on. And then that will allow me to make a bigger impact, because I'll have more weight in the word. I'll be able to make better connections. I'll be able to actually speak from the heart and really have people connect with me, because they'll have seen the full journey from zero to wherever I go. If you look at me when I start off, especially if you look at my Instagram now, it's all confident. It's all, Joe, well done. Make sure you scroll back like 3 years. Go back to my old stuff. Like, watch me post my first reels and you'll go, he's literally where I am. I am not special in any regard, and I don't want anyone to think that. Like, I am just somebody who puts in reps. That is it in any area of my life. I'm not really, really good looking. I'm not tall. I wasn't naturally built or wealthy. I just do reps in every area. And that's, if I can give one message to a younger version of me or anybody listening in any regard, is if you do enough reps, even if they're wrong, you'll learn eventually. You can move forward and you'll get better. And that's all you need to do. You just need to put in the graft, the hard work, the reps, and it will pay off. Even if it doesn't feel like it's paying off. You stick your hands in the mud, keep plowing away, keep doing the reps, and it will come together for you. The only thing is, see when it gets really, really tough and you feel alone and it doesn't feel like it's working, that is the only time it matters. The gym sessions, the only ones that matter are the ones you don't want to do. the conversations you don't want to have, they're the only ones that matter. The only reps that matter are the ones you don't want to do. Anybody can do it in a day where it's sunny, it's clean, it's happy days, and you're in the mood for it. It's when you don't have anything left to give and you put in that extra rep in any area of your life. That's what makes the difference for me. And that's what made the difference over the last years. And there's time periods you're doing that and you don't see no return. You do it time and time again. You're like, I'm not getting anything. Nothing's coming. You just keep doing it. And I'm living proof that it actually pays off in the long run. And it will continue to. And that builds your own self-belief. And now I know, see when the tough times come, I'm like, I just have to keep putting in the reps. The proof is there, because I was like, it's fucking worked. It's worked in every area of my life. It's worked in fitness. It's worked in the property. It's worked in the mentor. It's worked in my family life. It's worked in, even my family life wasn't great before. Put in the reps. Put in the time. We always spend a Sunday together. We always do specific things. And that is what changes anything. It can flow into every area of your life. And that's what makes the biggest difference. And that's just something I wish I knew sooner. And I wish other people knew. Because when they hit the wall, they stop, or they do that extra rep for 1 or 2 times. You might have to push through that barrier 100. But if you don't do that, you know where the other path goes. If you give up, you go back to what it was, you know where that path leads you. And it's not where you want to go anyway. So then why would you give up? Just ask yourself that and just keep doing the reps. That's what I'd say.
Tony, it has been a pleasure spending a couple of hours with a driven, positive, upbeat man with the eye of the tiger, and I'll be rooting for you. I'll be following you every step. I want you to go out and conquer the world, and I also believe you will do so.
I appreciate that.
Thank you for sharing your story with me, and feel free to sign off with a how.
I will. Thank you very much for having me. Oh!